evening to you. Welcome to KTN Prime. Let's take a look at the top stories tonight, including that drill that went so wrong at Strathmore University. Here are the top stories tonight.
Concerned persons who are involved in this will tell us why they acted in the manner they acted.
Drill of death. Blame game begins as Kenyan University promises support for victims. Graft diaries. Civil society demos against corruption turn chaotic in Nairobi.
They conducted the search. They went through everything, personal things, all kind of documents.
In search of evidence, detectives raid home of former Kenyan Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru. And France pledges 2 billion euros to help Africa fight climate change. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Meresha Owiti. And we begin in Kenya, where the Strathmore University has defended its actions in yesterday's security drill that left 1 dead and several injured. The university leadership said the drill followed months of training on disaster preparedness and that only wanted to test the students' level of awareness. The university spoke as the Kenya National Police Service said there wasn't proper coordination with the security agencies before the drill was conducted. KTN's Sharon Mumanyi also traced the family of Esther Kidambi, who died in that drill.
Perched on a motorcycle, Dillion Kidambi makes his way to the Machakos University, where he is a student. This is how his day usually begins, days that normally involve classes and studies. But this day is neither usual nor normal to Dillion. Hours ago, he received shocking news that his sister, Esther, had passed away.
Akiniambia police were conducting their drills. So students wakafikiri ni an issue with an attack. So they have to jump toka kwa first floor, second floor, but yeye alikuwa second floor. So wakati alijump, alishuka na kichwa.
Esther Kidambi was the second born in the Kidambi family of 9 children. She worked in the catering department at Strathmore University.
Na alikuwa na kama the breadwinner because hata baba alikuwa ameenda retire. Sasa when a person mwenye anawasaidia eventually ana pass away, the gap is so big.
Esther succumbed to head injuries. She is believed to have jumped off the second floor of a building in Strathmore University during a security drill at the school on Monday, one that caused extreme panic. The school staged a mock terror attack meant to assess the level of preparedness of staff and students. According to the school's Vice-Chancellor, Professor John Odhiambo, the school has been offering terror response training since July.
First of all, to give us an expose of what it's all about, and there's a bit of insights on their characteristics. At least that's what they did with us, the staff. And then we expected them, this team, to do the same with students so that they are aware. Now, it does not appear like, from the feedback, that there was any specific training prior to this drill.
The security drill conducted early afternoon Monday involved the use of real guns by mock attackers. However, the school's vice-chancellor and the police spokesperson, Charles Owino, confirmed that blank bullets were used. Owino says the school made an error by not involving the highest level of security, saying the situation would have been worse as rapid response units were about to be dispatched.
That would find us in a very awkward position where you find security agencies fighting on their own, and yet it was a drill. And that is why we are saying the highest level of protocol must be followed. The protocol simply means involving the Ministry of Interior and having them with you to coordinate so that we get the information flows in the right way.
What we were meant to understand is that they had made sufficient contact and got authorization that they needed to, and that's why they were, when we asked, they said, yeah, this is why we are able to get police officers with guns here, provided by the Langata, because that needed approval.
Concerned persons who are involved in this will tell us why they acted in the manner they acted, including the OCPD.
30 people injured, including staff and students who are receiving treatment in various hospitals in Nairobi. 2 are in ICU at the Nairobi West Hospital.
So the concerned authorities should carry their own cross. We don't want stories, we don't want fictions. Babu, there's no amount of money in the buy someone's life.
The school has apologized for the unfortunate outcome of the well-intentioned drill. It has pledged to cater for Esther's funeral expenses, medical services for those injured, as well as counseling services for the students. It is a drill that was meant to ensure the safety of students and staff here at Strathmore University, one that ended up causing a lot of harm. The university has admitted to shortcomings in the process, even as investigations, both internally and by the police, into what exactly went wrong continue. Sharon Momanyi, KTN News at the Strathmore University, Nairobi.
So 1 person died, several were injured in that drill that caused quite an uproar in the country. It forms the basis of a big question tonight. We're asking, was Strathmore University wrong to conduct the security drill in the manner in which it did? Was Strathmore University wrong to conduct the security drill in the manner in which it did? Please let us know what you think. Begin with a yes or a no, so that I'm able to sample some of your views. You can tweet us at KTN News, at KTN Kenya. You can tweet me directly at Lindo Gutu. I'll be sampling some of your views on what your thoughts are on that drill. So here's the thing. It was meant to prepare the students and school management in the event the school comes under attack. A security drill at Strathmore University, however, resulted into the death of 1 staff member and occasioned massive injuries. Was the drill properly carried out? Here's KTN News' Dennis Onsarigo with what the drill should have achieved.
If there is a man who witnesses a security drill turn into a disaster right in front of his eyes, that man is Besjan Kidambi. Kidambi was working on a construction site overlooking the campus when he heard gunshot and he saw students and staff scamper for safety.
All of a sudden, mmoja wetu akatuambia kuna Al-Shabaab wameingia Strathmore. Sisi ndio tukatoka kukimbia kuangalia kuna nini inaendelea. Tukaona kweli watu wanakimbia na kuna shootings.
As Kidambi dashed to save himself from what many thought was a terrorist attack on campus, his 2 sisters were the only thing worrying him.
Nilipigia sister yangu simu, yeye akawa ni mteja. Sasa vile niona ni mteja nikawa red. Nikapanda paka pale tulikuwa nafanya kazi huko. Nikaona ule my younger sister anajaribu ku show people where to go.
One of his sisters, Esther Vusha Kidambi, was working in the catering department, and his youngest sister works in the front office. It will later emerge that his sister Esther Vusha died as the rest of the campus students and staff ran for safety.
One of our colleagues alisema, sasa alipoona huyo second floor, sasa my sister anaruka. Akajaribu kumshikilia lakini ikawezekani, kamwachilia kapita na mabati paka chini.
Esther's picture, strategically placed at the front office where her younger sister works, has raised questions. Did Esther have to die in an exercise meant to prepare her for the worst?
What was the level of planning? How deep was the planning for this exercise? Who was involved? How thorough was this? How technically qualified and professionally qualified were the people that planned this drill?
Security experts have told KTN News the drill should not have been announced by the students and staff, should have been taken through disaster preparedness.
The entire community in the university, from students to teaching staff and non-teaching staff, all of them should have been sensitized 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, on how to respond to security situations. And I'm talking of a serious sensitization, where people are told, first and foremost, never ever let panic take control of you.
When the drill was underway, Field Marshals should have shouted the words drill as the response, evacuation and later head count was carried out. Security experts have also questioned the use of bullets during the mid-morning security drill, with the National Police Service saying the Interior Ministry was in the dark. What was meant to prepare the university community for any terrorist attack in the future has suddenly resulted in death, and the campus now under police investigations. Denson Sarigo, KTN Prime.
Let's now focus on the war on corruption, and anti-corruption detectives conducted simultaneous searches in the homes of 3 former top officials of the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, including the home of immediate former Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru. The Kenyan Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission said the detectives were looking for crucial evidence for the prosecution of a case against former Permanent Secretary Peter Mangeti and former NYS Director Nelson Githinji.
Shortly after 6:30 a.m., detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission raided the city residence of former Devolution CS Anne Waiguru at Kihingo Village in Nairobi's Kitisuru area. For 6 hours, they would be holed up here, searching for what they said was crucial evidence to unravel a conspiracy under which senior officials in Waiguru's former ministry attempted to steal 695 million shillings from the National Youth Service. Waiguru's lawyer, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, said the raid was conducted in Waiguru's absence.
We were facilitating that process. They conducted the search. They went through everything, personal things, all kind of documents, kids' rooms. So they did a search, through and through. Yes, they took some documents. We gave them all the documents they need. And I think everybody is happy with the process. But, it's good to do a process when you believe in the process, not as a PR. Yes.
But as the detectives rummaged through Waiguru's residence behind this closed gate, other EACC officers simultaneously raided the city residences of former Planning PS Peter Mangiti, NYS former Director General Nelson Githinji, and that of his deputy Adan Harake. And although the EACC detectives struck at the same time across the 3 homes, Ahmed Nasir still insists that Waiguru is an innocent whistleblower who deserves commendation despite resigning late last month.
I've said all along, she's not accused of anything, but they wanted to search her house, probably to ensure, to satisfy themselves one final time, and that's what they did.
Does she feel intimidated by the process?
No. The only complaint we have is, when you are doing a search like this, you don't have to call the press, like they did with you guys. The first call I got this morning was my friends in the press that they're coming here.
This move by the EACC comes barely a day after the United States announced that it had blocked various high-profile Kenyan citizens from traveling to the United States over corruption allegations.
There are individuals who cannot go to the United States as a consequence of involvement in corruption. I will not go into specifics or names right now, but obviously the United States is committed to doing everything it can to support the fight against corruption here in Kenya.
President Uhuru Kenyatta sent home 5 cabinet secretaries that had been previously accused of corruption last week, while Waiguru stepped down citing personal health concerns and requested President Kenyatta to assign her lighter duties.
If they are serious, let them charge people, let them prosecute. If they have a good case, let them do conviction. But these PRs, Kenyans will ask them at the end of the day, what's on the table? What have you done the last 5 years? And that is the biggest problem facing this government.
But Waiguru's former ministry has been on the spot since the news first broke that 791 million shillings had been siphoned from the NYS through dubious payments during the slum upgrade project, a project which was the brainchild of Waiguru herself. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
So Kenya's opposition leader Raila Odinga claims that the government cannot account for over 100 billion shillings from the Eurobond. Raila says the government books regarding the Eurobond do not balance and figures have been cooked to tally. The opposition core leader has therefore written demand letters to banks involved in the Eurobond. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich and his Principal Secretary Kamau Thuge demanding an audit of the Eurobond transactions. Raila says the parties have 14 days to respond.
From the reviews, it is clear to us that the greatest case of theft in Kenyan history is either underway or has already been concluded in one fell swoop in the name of the Eurobond. The government books regarding the Eurobond do not balance. Indeed, it is now clear that official accounts have been cooked and continue to be cooked. Some of them are up on the Treasury's website, so it's no secret. The statement of government cabinet secretaries, the principal secretaries, and other officials contradict each other. At the very least, the government cannot account for over 140 billion shillings. You can't misplace $1 billion however rich or reckless you are. Even $1 billion shillings is hard to misplace. It's not pocket money. Even if it had been spent in Kenya, you would have felt it. Instead, the economy today is contracting. We have dispatched demand letters to all local and foreign institutions that were involved in the Eurobond saga to demand very specific answers. The answers we are seeking on each of the institutions are clearly spelled out in the letter to each of them.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga there raising concerns about the Eurobond that amounts to $1 billion. Raila Odinga there saying that he has not received sufficient explanation on how or where that money is, saying it looks like the figures are being cooked, and the explanation that is being given by different officials from several government ministries just does not make sense. And of course he gave 14 days to the relevant individuals, authorities to respond to his concerns, and Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich has actually responded to that. As a matter of fact, he has invited Raila Odinga to come for the information on the sovereign bond and ask. He has also asked the media to be present as well. Let's move to the next board on that statement by CS Henry Rotich. And as a matter of fact, he's invited CORD leader Raila Odinga to go and get the information on Friday this week. We are keeping an eye on that for you. The CS says the controller of Budget and the Auditor General have confirmed that all proceeds of the sovereign bond have been fully accounted for. Remember, CORD leader Raila Odinga says the explanations just do not make sense, and according to him, those figures have been cooked. So the CS goes on to say, we have nothing to hide. The proceeds from the Eurobond were applied prudently, productively, and lawfully. Let's see if the CORD leader Raila Odinga will come to the same conclusion when he gets to meet the CS on Friday. The CS has asked him to go to his office and sort of try and see if he can get the answer that he's looking for on that bond that is $1 billion. Let's see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on that for you, even as the CORD leader goes on to meet the Treasury Cabinet Secretary. Great. So let's go to matters of corruption in Kenya now. And several activists were today arrested as they attempted to make their way to State House, Nairobi, to present a petition against corruption. The activists were tear-gassed as they approached State House Road before being arrested. KTN's senior reporter Rita Tinina has more.
It started as a peaceful protest against corruption.
Pay back the stolen money! Pay back the stolen money!
The demonstrators' agenda to present a petition to the Chief Justice and to the President calling for wealth declaration by public officers. From the Freedom Corner, they marched through city streets to the Supreme Court. Here, they were lucky. They got the attention of Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga, to whom they presented their petition.
To deal with corruption effectively, all state and senior public officers must declare their wealth and undergo public vetting. More importantly, the wealth declaration must be made publicly available.
I'll be one of those people who will declare their wealth, if you want to know. Okay. I can give my own declaration. I don't think that's. I think that's a legitimate demand from Kenyans based on the Constitution, because we are supposed to be accountable. We are supposed to be transparent.
But the next leg of the protest was not as successful. At the State House Road junction, police were waiting. The activists tried to argue their case. The police would hear none of it. And when the demonstrators failed to move from the area, several demonstrators, including Boniface Mwangi, were arrested, but were later released.
Why are we being arrested for fighting corruption? Why are we being arrested for fighting?
Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Tomorrow, the Kenya National Assembly will begin the vetting process for nominees to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Parliament will also vet afresh serving cabinet secretaries that were transferred to new dockets. The Kenya National Assembly this evening rejected an amendment by the Attorney General that proposed to shield public officers reappointed to new positions from re-vetting exercise.
Tuesday last week, President Uhuru Kenyatta made his first big cabinet shuffle since assuming power in April 2013. The president announced 7 fresh nominees to the cabinet, including 3 politicians. The fresh nominees are Mwangi Kiunjuri for devolution and planning, Kericho Senator Charles Keter for energy and petroleum docket, Willie Bett for agriculture, Dr. Cleopa Kilonzo Mailu for health, Cecily Kariuki for public service, youth and gender affairs, Malindi opposition MP Dan Kazungu for mining, and Joe Musheru for ICT.
I like you because you have no...
Ahead of the shuffle, the Attorney General had proposed to amend the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011 through an omnibus bill to make a distinction with regard to the approval procedure as it applies for reappointments. The Attorney General wanted the approval procedure not to apply to reappointments except in cases where there have been formal complaints on performance or integrity on the part of the proposed appointee. But in a rude shock, members of the National Assembly voted to reject the proposal. What this effectively means is that cabinet secretaries transferred to new dockets must be vetted afresh. Consequently, Najib Balala was transferred from mining to tourism, will be vetted afresh by Parliament. The same applies for James Macharia, who was moved from health to transport and infrastructure. Others affected are Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who was moved from the Ministry of ICT to Education. Professor Jacob Kaimenyi was moved to lands. Kaimenyi had a frosty relationship with teachers' unions over welfare issues while serving as Cabinet Secretary for Education. In July this year, Professor Kaimenyi survived a censure motion after the opposition coalition failed to marshal 1/3 of lawmakers to move the motion to the next stage, where MPs would have picked an 11-member committee to investigate his conduct and possibly force President Uhuru Kenyatta to sack him. In the shuffle, President Uhuru Kenyatta nominated Dr. Monica Juma Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Prior to that, she was serving PS Interior. In June this year, the National Assembly rejected nomination of Dr. Monica Juma to serve as Secretary to the Cabinet in line with recommendations of the Committee on Administration and National Security that had vetted her. Dr. Monica was to replace Francis Kimemia, who had been suspended. Speaker of the National Assembly is here to table names of the nominees of the Cabinet shuffle to kickstart the vetting process. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
Here's the thing, it was meant to prepare students and school management in the event the school comes under attack. However, it went awfully wrong. We're referring to the Strathmore University drill. So on our big question tonight, we're asking you, was the university wrong to conduct the security drill in the manner in which it did? Dr. Kenneth Omeo says, yes, they were. My reason was as a result of the bad outcome, loss of life, and unprecedented injury. Jagongo says they were very wrong. There are procedures in conducting drills worldwide. However, there is no procedure. Clockwise says, of course, a person died, and as a result of ill preparation and no conjunction with the authorities. Finally, at Ike Ojuok says, yes, proper drills ensure orderly exit under control and prevent panic and death. Your feedback on our big question tonight. We thank you for tweeting us. Remember, you can tweet us at KTN News, at KTN Kenya. You can tweet me directly as well at Lindo Gotu. I'll keep sampling your views during this bulletin. We are taking a short break. Stay with us. We'll be back. To climate matters now. On the sidelines of the COP21 summit, French President François Hollande pledged €2 billion to Africa by 2020 to develop renewable energy. The leaders of various African nations have reacted to the news.
A very substantial part of our efforts in Africa, and the most important part, is the installation of electricity without having to wait until 2020. Today, I would like to announce that France will pledge €6 billion between 2016 and 2020. France could invest, and the French Development Agency represented here can pledge some €2 billion for renewable energy projects in the continent. That's 20% of what you are preparing.
Today, if you go to the big trade show, you can bet that nothing useful will come out of it, and it may even drive people into further despair. But I think, on the contrary, with the meeting this morning, we showed the world that we didn't come to Paris for sightseeing, but to make concrete steps towards things that we care about, that are a challenge to our people.
These are the answers that we have tried to reach concerning the drought-stricken Lake Chad, and the solid examples that we have now are financial commitments to supply electricity to everyone in Africa, including the installation of power sources in rural areas, the commitments of France, the African Development Bank, the US, and the World Bank.
The outcome of the Paris Climate Change Conference could have a trickle-down effect, and Kenyan county governments are not left down in the ongoing talks. 4 Kenyan county governors are in attendance, and they say climate change must be incorporated in county development plans. KTN special correspondent Alex Chamwada now reports from Paris.
4 governors under the umbrella of the Council of Governors are attending this conference. Hassan Joho of Mombasa, Cyprian Awiti of Homa Bay, Joshua Irungu of Laikipia, and Benjamin Cheboy of Baringo. Cheboy is heading the Committee on Natural Resources that is relevant to climate change issues. The Council of Governors is saying that climate change is an issue governors cannot ignore, and they should incorporate it in their development plans, from poverty eradication issues to conservation and innovation. Here is the take of the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Council of Governors, Jacqueline Mogeni.
The Council of Governors is here because county governments are the ones who are actually implementing everything to do with agriculture, issues to do with the environment, and therefore they are the holders, they are the key holders of everything that is affected by the climate change.
So what is the trickle-down effect, and how do governors hope to incorporate climate change in their development plans? I spoke to Governors Irungu of Laikipia and Awiti of Homa Bay.
For me, is where we would want to tap on the carbon financing, that is the climate change financing that is there, to help our farmers to harvest their energy. Because to date, we actually expect that big things to be done, but the small things like tree planting, is a major thing that our farmers at local level, they are undertaking in terms of, because many of our farmers have been using the biogas, the trees and cutting trees. But if we can be able to curtail on that and cut down in terms of the use of the energy or the fuel energy by introducing the energy saving GCOs at that low level, and particularly the energy saving GCOs, which can be able to reduce 50–60% of the energy consumption.
Homa Bay is home to 80% of the Lake Victoria in Kenya. And Lake Victoria was one time considered the second freshwater lake. Today, Lake Victoria is a large septic tank. And that's why I am affected as a county of Homa Bay. And that's why I've come to see how best can we be able to look at issues like environment, reducing pollution on Lake Victoria.
How about the role of ordinary Kenyans? The Cabinet Secretary in charge of Environment and Natural Resources, Professor Judy Wahungu, explains.
We want to sensitize Kenyans to the fact that there are many things that we do that are polluting and not conducive to the environment. So if an ordinary Kenyan, for example, is using kerosene, we would advise that Kenyan, for health purposes, to use solar technologies, even for cooking, and these are available, solar stoves and so on, or stoves that use less charcoal, avoid using firewood, and so on.
The conference has now reached a crucial stage of technical meetings and decision making. It is hoped that that decision making will have ended by the 9th of December and a possible pact, a legally binding pact, to be signed on December the 11th, binding all their governments and their commitments to fight global warming.
So Alex Jamoda is keeping an eye on that summit for us. Let's bring you back to the country. The Standard Media Group's KTN has been recognized by the National Gender and Equality Commission for comprehensive and in-depth coverage of issues affecting people living with disability. Other organizations singled out for being sensitive to the plight and needs of people living with disability include Safaricom Kenya, Kenyatta University. The Vice Chair of the Commission, Simon Ndubai, has lauded KTN for its proactive role in raising awareness about the needs of people living with disabilities. He has also called on the government to increase the number of senior government officials living with disabilities so as to enhance representation of their needs.
I will. So the National Gender and Equality Commission, Vice Chair, Commissioner Simon Ndubai, we are very privileged today to receive this award as Standard Group and KTN. KTN is actually one of the divisions of Standard Group. At Standard Group, we are very passionate about championing issues to do with persons with disabilities.
Cabinet secretaries, the previous list completely excluded persons with disabilities. The current list, again, there was no consideration of persons with disabilities. And the cabinet secretaries, as you know, are the executive. They are the ones who advise the president. They are the ones who appear in the cabinet meetings. And the most important policies are directed by the cabinet secretaries.
Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. We are taking a short break. When we get back, Joy Doreen Bira will have the day's business news.
Time for business. I'm Joy Doreen Bira. UK logistics firm Atlas Development has announced plans to liquidate its Kenyan operations to focus on new ventures across the region. This comes after the company experienced slow growth from the oil and gas industry that is currently undergoing a major downturn. In September, Atlas Development announced a full-year loss of 1 billion shillings attributed to the reduced exploration activity and the depreciating shilling, which had adverse effects on its profits. months. The 3 Kenyan subsidiaries that will be liquidated are Aden Logistics, Aden Medical Services and Aden Civil Engineering, as the firm expects this to improve the group's overall cost base. Atlas Development has, however, stated that it will remain listed at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, where it is cross-listed. By winding up operations in Kenya, Atlas intends to focus on manufacturing business in Ethiopia, where it acquired East Africa Packaging Holdings Limited, which makes glass bottles. In a statement, Atlas Chief Executive Carl Esprit says the opportunity in Ethiopia is highly compelling and offers the company, its supportive shareholders, the best opportunity to build value.
And we've also identified numerous opportunities for acquisition throughout the region.
The Kenya Revenue Authority has stepped up its surveillance on both imported and exported goods in its ongoing efforts to enhance customs revenue collection. And so far, the taxman has intercepted cargo containers loaded with 3 top Range Rover vehicles valued at more than 28 million Kenya shillings, disguised as household goods. As Philip Keitany now tells us, the taxman is hoping that the installation of state-of-the-art scanners will reduce tax leakages even more.
$639 billion shillings. This is the amount of money Kenya is said to be losing annually to tax evasions and multinationals and high net worth individuals. These people take advantage of the country's complicated and archaic tax regime, particularly capitalizing on the slack custom laws to rob the government of billions of shillings, leaving Kenya's low and middle income earners to finance the government's ambitious expenditure plans through punitive taxes. However, things seems to be changing, particularly at the country's point of entry, as the government invests in a new custom IT system and the state-of-the-art scanning infrastructure that will minimize cases of misdeclaration and concealment of cargo.
It's not only vehicles that are concealed. At times you have other different goods concealed, and therefore we'll be able to consider that, and maybe in the next discussion we can share a more firm figure.
Already, the taxman has already intercepted a cargo container loaded with 3 top-of-the-range vehicles shipped from the United Kingdom, disguised as household goods.
When we have these systems running, it becomes a deterrent to persons who would be prone to these malpractices.
As declared, the 3 Range Rover sport utility vehicles will have attracted less than $1 million shillings in custom duty, much less than the estimated 19 million shillings chargeable for such top-of-the-range vehicles.
More of these cases will fizzle out, and what would have been misdeclared will be declared properly, and therefore you'll find the tax base, what we call the tax CI for customs purposes, will improve, and therefore tax collected eventually will improve subsequently.
KRA is also replacing the problematic Simba system, increasing oversight on the container freight stations and rolling out a new transit cargo management system that will include installation of new state-of-the-art scanners at all ports of entry to ensure the country receives the full share of the custom tax. Philip Keitany, KTN Business.
Thanks, Philip. The Rockefeller Foundation, founded by John D. Rockefeller, is one of the greatest philanthropy stories in the United States. The foundation has also had great economic impact, spanning 8 decades in Africa. Since 2013, the Rockefeller Foundation has championed the Digital Jobs Africa initiative that seeks to bridge the unemployment gap among the youth through impact sourcing. On this edition of TechSpo, I spoke to the Africa Director for the Rockefeller Foundation, Mamadou Biteye, on the $100 million initiative that is changing lives of African youth through technology.
And a round of applause. We'll do a quick demo of the platform. And I hope technology, this always happens.
Well, we do apologize, and we'll have that story yet again, where we're now seeing the Rockefeller Foundation that has invested $100 million into technology, and one of their latest initiatives is Digital Jobs Africa.
Fastest growing continent in terms of economy, but also in terms of population. And the youth constitutes more than half of the population, and is going to double by 2050 to 400 million youth. One of the initiatives that the foundation launched in May 2013 is Digital Jobs Africa, which is a nearly $100 million initiative, which is really aimed at impacting the lives of 1 million people across Africa, but mainly being a catalytic initiative by working with different partners and leveraging the growing and most transformative sector, which is the digital and ICT sector in the continent, to generate employment opportunities, train the young people to the needs of employers, and ultimately link them with those employment opportunities.
Today, 6 of the fastest growing economies are in Africa, yet the same continent has the highest numbers of unemployed youth. Joshua Owiti is one of the beneficiaries of Digital Jobs Africa.
Since my parents passed away, my eldest brother, he lost job. I'm in a family of 5. The little that I have here, I divide it accordingly. And my brothers and my sisters, they are proud of me. I would have not been in school. I felt like I'm just done.
The objective is really to link 100,000 youth to jobs in 6 countries. Those 6 countries were South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Morocco, and Egypt. By doing what? By working with a private sector, who are the employers, for them to adopt what we call impact sourcing. Impact sourcing is an inclusive hiring practice which targets that specific section of the youth I defined earlier. Young people who, because of their disadvantaged background and despite their great talent and potential, are not able either to go to the tertiary to finish their education, and because of that have no skills that would make them make it to the job market.
This working environment provides job security. It can give me the wings of becoming a teacher.
This initiative has trained over close to 50,000 youth, precisely 48,000 youth in those countries, and has linked over 16,000 young people into jobs.
And what Rockefeller Foundation has done is give disadvantaged youth across Africa the wings to confidently be a part of not just the workforce, but a digital workforce. Joy Doreen Bira, Texpo, KTN.
And well, we'll now take a look at how the markets are performing and get you to know how the listed companies at the Nairobi Securities Exchange as well did perform, with Atlas Development now saying they are quitting the Kenyan market. How exactly did they perform? Definitely they were affected as well with their stocks at the NSE. Just take a look at the markets. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Thank you all for watching KTN Business.
KTN Business Today.
Jackson Tuwei is now the president of Athletics Kenya, taking over from embattled Isaiah Kiplagat, whose tenure at the Athletics Kenya has come to an abrupt ending following suspension by the IAAF Ethics Commission. The world's athletics body has suspended Kiplagat together with his deputy David Okeyo and former AK treasurer Joseph Kinyua for 6 months for subversion of the anti-doping process and improper diversion of funds from kit manufacturers Nike. Hassan Juma has the details.
Following the suspensions of Athletics Kenya's top brass led by Chairman Isaiah Kiplagat and David Okeyo by the IAAF Ethics Commission, Athletics Kenya has moved swiftly and made far-reaching changes that could spell the end to Kiplagat's 40-year tenure at AK. The Athletics Kenya Executive Committee was in a closed-door meeting following the IAAF's developments. The committee has decided to lock out the three from athletics for the said duration as investigations continue. AK will cooperate with IAAF Ethics Commission. Retired Lieutenant General Jackson Kiprono Tuwei takes over the hot seat at AK headquarters. Duties assigned to David Okeyo, who was in charge of competitions, will be taken by another executive committee member, the reports reads in part. The suspended officials are expected to vacate their positions immediately as investigations gather momentum. The three are under investigation on allegations of siphoning $500,000 paid to the federation by kit sponsors Nike, as well as soliciting bribes to cover up positive doping tests. Kiplagat is further accused of receiving 2 vehicles from the Qatari Athletics Federation as an inducement to vote for the Gulf state to host the 2019 IAAF World Championships. There's been agitation for change at Riyadh House, and with the ongoing investigations, chances of Isaiah Kiplagat returning to manage one of the oldest federations in the country are now slim, with sources indicating that the federation is looking for a long-term replacement for Kiplagat, with a section of athletics body rooting for a youthful chairman who will inject fresh ideas to AK. Hassan Juma, KTN Sports.
Omar Rajab Kasongo is among the few boxers in Kenya who have won medals for Kenya in both Commonwealth and all African Games. The boxing legend, who was at the peak of his career in the late 90s, is now a local boxing coach. Robinson Okenya spoke to him and filed the following report.
Many a generation today might not recognize his name in the first instance. Changing times and shifting generations, but in the early 90s, Omar Rajab was a household name. Meet the former Commonwealth and All Africa Games heavyweight champion, who once ruled the boxing ring and commanded respect across the world for his craft.
Football unacheza na watu, unaona mtu mwingine ameanza ku slow down. Nanyi mna pick up pace. Tangu afadhali kuna coach pia aliniona niko mzuri kwa boxing pia.
Omar won a total of 6 gold medals in his 20-year illustrious career. He singles out his win 1994 Commonwealth Games as his best victory ever.
At the time, nilikuwa light sana kwa light heavyweight. Hapo nikapandishwa tu hivyo. Nikajisurprise mwenyewe na kupiga watu wote wako hapo juu. Hiyo ilinifurahisha kabisa.
Nicknamed Kasongo, Omar Rajab, who began boxing at the age of 10, says today's boxers have run away from entertaining boxing that was the rule of the thumb in 1980s and early 90s.
Sasa vijana siku hizi hata unapata mtu aende na akili ya kucheza boxing, aenda na akili tu ati apige ngumi moja ama mbili, alafu afanye mambo zake.
The former heavyweight champion, who retired after going semi-professional in Denmark, has now resorted to giving back to the community by training young boxers. The former world number 5 feels the government is yet to appreciate stars who once brought glory to the nation.
Watu wa Ministry of Sports kama vile wangetafuta watu at least hata either kitu kama pension ama hata medical scheme. Watu wengi pana huumia sana. Mimi nasikia kama jina watu wameumia huko, lakini mtu anaumia pa Nairobi. Aenda kujificha ushago.
With Kenya yet to make an impact in world boxing in the 21st century, the former heavyweight champion hopes to see Kenya back to its glory days. Robinson Okenya, KTN Sports.
KTN KTN weather.
Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. So let's remind you of a big question just before we go and look at some of your feedback. We asked for your opinion on that drill that was carried out by Strathmore University, whether or not you think it was carried out in a proper manner. Cowortito says no. The exercise was not bad and should be done in all institutions, except that they failed to inform students of it. Vera Gandhi says, how I wish they should have conducted it according to the procedure. A life is very important. Rashid Kawawa says, what's the difference between terrorism and drills if all of them lead to death? The university was wrong. Finally, Marita Mirera says the drill was unnecessary because of terror and fear and panic still among Kenyans. It caused unnecessary havoc. Your feedback on our big question tonight on how you think that drill was carried out. Thank you for participating, for being part of KTN Prime, and indeed for watching. Here's the thing. Worldview begins right now on KTN News, and I'd want you to be part of that. You can trace that conversation, use the hashtag WorldviewKTN. You can watch that on DSTV channel 274, Zuku channel 14, and GoTV channel 94. We're talking about the World AIDS Day. We're sharing different experiences from people all over the world. I'd love you to be part of that conversation. Thank you for watching KTN Prime. Have a good night. I'm Linda for Good.